Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Hi, and welcome back to Realistic Sustainability. I'm Mike, and I am here with my brother, Nick.
Good evening, brother. How are you doing? I feel like it's been an eternity and a day since I've seen you.
I know. It's because we're always rotating through people, and you're super busy. Matter of fact, you're working at work right now while doing this, aren't you?
To some degree, I wouldn't necessarily call it working. I mean, I'm pretty sure my coworkers would agree as well that what I do is scarcely considered work, but I am, in fact, here, takeout order, doing the Lord's work, selling food.
So how is things going? It's been so long. I haven't really caught up with you. We were talking a little bit about social media things. So how is just everything?
Everything busy, no real complaints, just a lot to do. It seems like there's always one more thing that I forgot about, or it gets shuffled around, lost in the mix. We ended our Halloween season on a high at Crossroads. That was really nice. Then we went into November thinking that it'd be a nice slow month, but life happens. And before I knew it, November came and went. And here we are looking at the end of it, getting ready for Thanksgiving and a Lions victory. Hoorah. And then maybe December. I don't know, man. I guess I wasn't prepared for this question just because I'm so excited to be back on the podcast. We've been busy. Things are going well. We're ready for the holiday season. How are things with you? Let's put the spotlight on my brother.
Is that how you're going to get out of this?
Yes, I have decided that in order to deflect for myself, I'm going to hand it over to the influencer, Michael Nazarian.
That has been so much fun, by the way. The kids are going nuts. They hate every second of us making jokes about me being quote unquote an influencer. This, which started with Jamie. For those of you who've been listening, I'm sure you've heard it on one of the previous episodes, that because of how much we do in social media now, by the way, I've added Blue Sky to the mix. Threads is now getting a consistent posting. So there's lots of things that are going out there. It's driving the kids nuts because Jamie, the whole time we were in Hawaii, Jamie and our friend Nicole are in the back going, he's such an influencer. Look at that. He's an influencer making jokes because I am not that kind of guy, really. But it is fun to torture the kids. It really is. It's so much fun.
I don't disagree. That's why I got started on TikTok. That's why I do so much Facebook stuff. As my kid one day made a joke saying that I was cringy and that he wanted me to stop making these terrible dad jokes because his friends, I will say his kids, they're kind of like his kids. His friends thought I was hilarious. And just to spite him, I said, okay. And I ratcheted it up a couple notches. And I just kind of never stopped. Now I do go in spurts. I don't do as much content as I'd like to. And very seldom do I get to post the content I want. It's just, I take the time provides. I make the best of it when I can. So, but yeah, either going to be known henceforth as the influencer Michael Nazarian or Slumlord Michael Nazarian.
We have a that's a beautiful apartment. There's 2 beautiful apartments. And just so you know, it's like 2 days after people moved in, the water heater went out. And I'm in Kentucky for work trying to coordinate all these things. And I'm constantly telling Jamie, we need to get this fixed today. We are not those people. We are not the people who are going to let them take cold showers. We actually let everybody come to our house and take hot showers while we got that fixed.
Well, that's a good thing. And besides, you have a lovely home anyways. I'm not going to take away that house is beautiful. You guys did a great job, tearing out the nasty stuff or finishing it. It looks gorgeous. The before and after photos are stunning. I have nothing but nice things to say about it, but I'm not going to lie. When I heard about the nicknames, I had to clock them in. I had to say it. I had to make sure to heard them because they made me laugh hysterically. Got to make someone else laugh.
I always worry. I'm a little sensitive on things at times. So I'm always worried about, are they going to be okay in those apartments? We're already starting to improve things for them already in that house. So it's like, at this point, they're probably worried that we'll never leave the whole time we're there because we're like, oh, we could fix this or, oh, we could fix that for you. So I've told Jamie we need to back off for a little bit. I mean, the garage roof has to be done still, and there's some minor things outside, but we need to let them kind of like live in their home. So, and if they have a problem, then we can come in and fix it.
I would agree with that. I think that is probably the wisest choice you could make just because, there was a long process of getting the house zoned, getting it, appropriated for renters. And now that people are in it, let them enjoy it. Let them, make the place an actual home where they're comfortable and they're happy to sleep at night. And then, start picking little pet projects, maybe things that aren't so disruptive to their daily life, like the roof of the garage, or maybe doing some landscaping. And, just let them live, man.
Yeah. Well, it's been a year. We started that discussion on that place in February, and the second renter went in this week. So it's been a process to get from point A to point B. Plus, I've spent it feels like the last month traveling between going and seeing Aiden graduate boot camp to our actual vacation, which I think I documented quite well on social media, in which you thought I was never coming back from. And then
I did not expect to return. I'm very happy I was wrong. Not seldom wrong, nor do I say that, but I'm happy you came back.
And then as soon as I came back, my work asked me to go to Kentucky. So I was like another 7-8 hour drive down there. So it feels like I've been all over the place. And next month on the 20th, I'm going to go get Aiden again for his holiday break. So I'll be back down to Missouri and doing a little more travel, but it's just been awfully busy. It's nice to kind of chill out a little bit, get into this holiday season, especially with engineering slowing down. I can catch up a little, dabble in stemnetics, and just kind of maybe exhale for a second.
I mean, if you can manage to slow down and enjoy life for a holiday season, I will be shocked. I'll be impressed, but I will be shocked. You don't know how to rest. You don't know how to slow down. You've never been one to take it easy or not to find something to fill your time.
No, I don't like being bored.
Who does?
I do have one piece of information which you already know, but I'm going to share with the listeners here because it's a bummer for me, but not the end. Because of low enrollment at the University of Michigan going into this winter, I will not be teaching sustainability in that semester. Yeah, they have to give that to a tenured or a full-time person to teach. They couldn't bring a new one in.
I love that you say I already knew. I actually didn't. You didn't tell me about the development. So I'm finding out with everyone else. So sorry to hear that. That does suck. Stop imagining conversations with your little brother and actually have them.
Yeah, it was a bummer. It is what it is. And I'll continue to build my sustainability chops so that by the time they get it restructured and want to rebuild it, I'll be ready and available.
Which, I mean, I think honestly is a wise choice. Sometimes something good happening can happen at the worst possible time. And you never know until it's over whether or not it was the right thing at the wrong time or the wrong thing at the right time. It just is the way it is. So just roll with the punches and keep going forward.
I think I've had enough significant events in my life to know that things just happen. And for whatever reason, it always turns out okay. So I won't start at the University of Michigan this winter, but I am certainly not going to stop pursuing it.
Well, good. I'm glad because if you try to stop pursuing it, I would spank you.
Well, that's creepy. So let's go ahead and get into the show. This one is kind of curated, I think, perfectly for you. And maybe even how each of us think a little differently. This topic should be pretty darn interesting. And I think I'm going to reduce the topic because originally I had multiple parts of this show that we were going to work through, but I think we're going to stick with just the food side. So what this show is a thought experiment. So I want to do that a little more often. Have some shows where we just kind of think something through to see just where we end up. And this week, what I'd like to do is let's assume starting tomorrow, food is abundant and free, but I need to add some parameters to that. Fruits and vegetables are abundant and free. Not every style, not meat. The things that the processed stuff is not as abundant. That stuff is still purchasable, probably still abundant, but purchasable. Same with meat. But what if in our society, fruits and vegetables, not just from your own yard, but if you went into a store, if you went somewhere, maybe it's, a stand of some kind, fruits and vegetables are always free. And let's take that concept and roll it back and see what the world looks like.
So when you originally sent out the prompt for this show, I prepared a lot, but because really being a thought experiment, the only preparation I really need is more like a introspective look at like my life and how I feel it would change accordingly. But I've been thinking about this a lot because I've been trying to figure out exactly how that would influence my life. And I don't know if it would. Hear me out on this. It's not that I don't care. And it's not that I don't think that it would be a significant change to a lot of people. I would like to say that it would be a bigger change in my personal life. But if we're being 100% honest, if I'm looking at my life objectively, I don't live a very healthy life. And my day-to-day life, not food and calorie intake, and my just day-to-day life is not one that I would ever consider or be willing to try to explain to you in a manner that is balanced or evenly distributed. I don't have any free time that I take for anything for myself. From the time I get up to the time I go to bed, it's work, work, work. If I'm not working, I'm running the kids around. I honestly cooked a meal at home in my house in months. If we're not eating catered food from an event that we did that's left over, or going out to eat, it's been poor choice and a poor choice and a poor choice. And to a point where most of it has been me tying my own hands through a lack of ability for time management. In some areas of my life, I've really excelled with time management, but in other ones, it's kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul, just not in the financial sense. So for me, I would love to say that having fruits and vegetables just for personal use. I don't think this thought experiment should apply to commercial use. Like, I don't expect to get free product to then sell to customers. It's not like that. I don't think it would really influence me. My daughter wants to eat healthier. She's talked to me a lot about not being happy with the way she looks, and she wants to take a little bit of weight off. She has a little belly and stuff like that she's really insecure about. So it would allow us to get more things easily for her to eat better. And I would like to say that I could eat better, but I don't. I just don't. I think with my current life and the way I have it structured, I don't think that it would be a really huge change or what I call a positive disruption. Like electric shock therapy that steadies your heart rate. Same kind of basic principle, but for you applied to your life. It makes me sad to even admit that too. Like, I feel bad. Saying this stuff out loud is kind of breaking my own heart because it's true. But I just don't have a very well balanced life. My circadian rhythms are completely just destroyed right now. It's a miracle that I'm not sick. And with that being said, now that I've went and depressed myself, how about you?
Well, so speaking of that, you're always wanting to make a change. I've always gotten bigger, smaller throughout most of my life. And as I get older, it's harder to get smaller. I like fruits and vegetables, but much like yourself in a busy life, the easiest thing is the quickest thing. I think there's some challenges there, but for the big picture side of it, there's a lot to discuss. For me, I hope that those commercial locations get those free things and can still prepare it and sell it at a much lower rate. Because in all reality right now, if you go to a window, the salad is more than the everyday items, right? Because that's something they sell less of. There's more waste of it. They don't buy as much of it so that it's more costly. It is much more costly in general to eat better. What I would hope would happen is the healthier option would then be more affordable than the other. And so that would help in some sense. But when I looked at this, I looked at it less about me and more in general. So, for example, the first thing that comes up is there is no hunger. There is no one on the planet that doesn't get something to eat unless they choose against it, right? If fruits and vegetables are free, like we're trying to do here in Durand, at least for the season they can be, people get to eat. And when they do eat, they eat nutritious food that has all those vitamins and all those nutrients they need instead of whatever the most cost-effective thing is. It used to be if you had $2, you went and got a burger because it was high calorie and helped. Where if you have unlimited amount of apples or green peppers or cucumbers or whatever it is, you can be full. You can eat healthy, and you don't have to worry about it. There's that part too. There's a lot of people in society who do have a home and do have a place, but worry where the next meal's coming from. Or students who worry they don't get breakfast or they don't get lunch or dinner sometimes. At minimum, fruits and vegetables are available in abundance. So that's when I start looking at the first sets of positives. Is you might get a minor change in the regular diet for some, but you'll get a steady diet for those in need of high nutrient food.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, kind of a follow up to your stance on this. You said starting tomorrow. So when you say starting tomorrow, is that under the mentality of the past being today's, meaning that like we just woke up and food was free. Like we still have our same bad habits and our same eating habits and our same cravings.
Yes.
That I don't see a change for anybody. I think that the people that eat healthy are just getting healthier, and the people that know that they should be eating better are still going to go and blow their money on junk food. And I think that I'm not saying that as like a cynic. I'm not trying to. I am saying as someone who's been on the lower end of the financial spectrum most of my life, and I do know how easy and abundant processed, really bad, high calorie food is for you. But I also know how easy it is to get addicted to craving, how your brain gets transformed and warped. You know, if you go back to pre-civilization where we were hunter-gatherer species, your brain is hardwired to crave fats and to crave sugars and to crave these things that one time you might have needed. Unlike most animals, we don't have that off switch, and we don't have a seasonal diet anymore. You know, we're programmed to get what we want when we want. It's better to get mediocre to poor quality strawberries 12 months out of the year than amazing strawberries 1 month out of the year. Same thing with tomatoes and anything else you can grow. So I don't think it would change. And that breaks my heart. As a chef, that makes me sad because the idea of having, you know, a limited supply of fruits and vegetables at my given disposal, I shouldn't say unlimited, but, you know, cost-wise, unlimited. You know, I think it's wonderful. It's a great concept. And when we look into the realm of what I could do in a kitchen with easier access to more stuff like that, because you're right, it is more expensive. And it's not that it's more expensive to purchase per se. It just has a shorter shelf life. It goes bad. There's higher food waste. Fruits and vegetables are always going to be cheaper for me to purchase. The problem is they go bad faster. If you can find a way to design a menu that allows for the quick, you know, process and flip and turnaround on them, where you're selling lots of low-cost items that are healthy people, this job would be the easiest job in the world. But for someone like me, who, like I said, lives in a healthy life, I'm morbidly obese, very much overweight. There are days where, yeah, I could go eat like a bunch of pineapple and grapes, and sometimes I do. Sometimes, you know, we'll go to buy for a wedding, and I buy extra because the pineapple just looks delicious, or those red grapes got the nice shine to them, or we have these cherry tomatoes. I know that I'm mentioning a lot of fruits, but I love fruit. There's these cherry tomatoes that they're actually grape tomatoes. My apologies, and I buy from Sam's Club. They're just sweet and they're tangy and they're wonderful. And I can gorge myself on those until I'm sick. I'm feeling my stomach's going to burst, and still want to stop for a cheeseburger because it's missing that salt, it's missing that fat, it's missing that bread, like it's missing something. Or you're driving by a Dairy Queen, go, oh my God, ice cream. You understand what I mean?
I think it's not necessarily just an American thing.
Oh,
But I think it is a bigger problem in the United States because of how our diet has been changed. Now, I believe you're right that if it started today, there might be a quick rush for the free thing at first, but then it would slowly go back to the habits. But I do think there's some levers that would help move that in the correct direction.
Okay, I'm with you.
So, couple of things. First of all, it takes education. Everything takes education. Now, education never supersedes cravings in many ways. If that was the case, I don't think anyone would smoke anymore. But you continue the education process on a regular basis. And as people get ready, it helps them make their changes. Number two, when you look at your budget, I've done this with some friends. Like you go through your budget and highlight all the fast food. You highlight all the coffees or the different things that you bought through a window, and then sum that total versus your income. It's significant. For many people, it's significant.
I do it on a monthly basis. It's what I call hurry up and get sad.
And so there is something that will help drive individuals towards those healthy choices, and that is saving some of that income. You know, in sustainability, we always talk about it's cheaper to do the right thing in many ways. And that becomes abundantly true when fruits and vegetables are abundant and available for free. So when someone's looking at their finances and they're like, man, my back's against the wall, they could say, tell you what, 6 days a week, I'm eating fruits and vegetables. I get whatever I want on Saturday. And it would wildly change their finances.
So I do agree with that. Now but I'm going to follow that up because I prepped for this show with the mentality that what would people have to do in their life if they didn't have to work for food? This is the mentality I looked at the show, right? So if you look at it, the primary reasons we go to work in, it's to feed ourselves, feed our family, keep our home. Those are the three things that it's just to sustain your life. You got to go produce an income in whatever capacity that is, whatever that looks like. That's what it is. And for me, as a father and as a friend, as a business owner and an employee of other businesses, sometimes you have to do things because you have to do them. Not that you want to do them. You have a responsibility to someone else more often than not. Very rarely is it to yourself. In fact, the responsibility to yourself is to not let down the responsibility you have to others. And I say that because getting depressed and getting down on yourself is a real fast way to get right into the bad habits. So when it comes to food, yeah, that would significantly lower the amount of money you'd have to spend on a weekly basis, which would be applied to other bills and could substantially improve your budget. However, this is, like I said, I've done this hurry up and get sad game, assuming that people go about this with the right mentality and are financially savvy people. Most people that I know, I'm not saying this speaks for most people, but in my have this addiction to misery that where we like to complain we're always broke. We don't have the money, can't do this. And I'd love to go on that trip. It must be nice to do this. But then when you look at your budget, not your budget, but you look at your ledger from your bank and you're like, wow, I made $1,800 this month. Oh, look, 350 of it was McDonald's. Or I made 2,500 this month, but I still spent 500 on coffee that I didn't need. When you start looking at those numbers and how they add up to things that could have been put to something much more fulfilling. And what I mean by fulfilling is a vacation, spend time with your family. Instead of going and buying someone like a brand new video game system, take a trip with them. And if, in all fairness, you can spend $500 or $600 on the brand new game system, or you can get a hotel room in the next town over, next day over for $150, $200 a night. Use the rest in gas money and go make some memories. It's all about where you plug your money, and a lot of that is centered around food. Even vacationing centered around food. Think about it. You could get free fruits and vegetables wherever you went. And I'm just saying, we're going to use the state of Michigan because it's usually where I travel. If I knew that I could go to any store, any market, any place, and walk out with bananas and apples, oranges, potatoes, whatever, I would never really freak out about when we go on vacation, how are we going to feed people? I got a family of 5. So it's a significant part of the budget for taking trips,
Yep,
it's a lot of money. And if you're not if even camping, I think when we do our bigger camps, even where I'm only responsible for one meal for everybody, it's still a couple $100. Right. And then junk food, we got to have the M&M fund, the M&M budget. It takes money. So I would like to see a part of our lives. So I actually would like to see this practiced in real life. I don't know how they would do this, and you couldn't do it large scale, but I would like to almost do like a Truman Show kind of thing with someone where we just made their fruits and vegetables all free for 2 or 3 months. We all pitch in, create this GoFundMe, this crowdfund thing to do a thought experiment in real life for someone else.
Well, and I don't think it's not impossible. Okay. Now it's improbable because we have industry and we have companies who make a tremendous amount of money overcharging for organic goods.
You have a lot of word. You should have said you have greed. Greed's the word you should have used.
There's a lot of greed, and greed is worse when you need it to be healthy.
Yeah.
So there would be some roadblocks in that manner. Now, granted, Edible Landscape and projects like that is an attempt to buck that system.
Yeah, buddy.
But I think it could be a thing. You would move to vertical gardening more. You would go hydroponic. You'd actually regenerate the land because you're not using all of this farmland and widespread spacing. We know soil is degrading. Just change our methods. I think what would happen is you'd have a rush for it. Then it would wean back so that, we move our way back to Hot Pockets for a little while. Then there's this cost thing and people start slowly making their adjustment. I think, let's say 2 years from that point, we would start seeing at restaurants, big pile of Brussels sprouts with 4 ounces of meat and big piles of green beans, big piles of all your fruits and vegetables and salads and all these things. Certain places offering a free salad as much as you want, when you order your food. So that becomes the cheap abundance that they can give away or they can adjust with or use as the big portions really easily. So business I think would slowly find their way toward. People will go through that wave. A hurry rush for free, miss my cheeseburger. Hey, I'm out of money, but at least I can still eat. And then there's this equilibrium balance that would lead to at least a healthier life than today. Because I don't care which financial group you're in. If you're rich, in many cases, you're probably eating better food than the rest of us anyways. If you are even middle class, you're still looking for the value items. You're still throwing big piles of noodles on things, cheap, inexpensive stuff to expand meals. If you're in a food desert or disadvantaged, you're not getting fruits and vegetables. If you're in a school, you're offering something that is salty, greasy, and, quote unquote, yummy compared to the apple and the vast majority of those kids are going to migrate that way. That's another thing. Kids' meals are currently free in Michigan at the schools, but I won't call them healthy meals. It's a donut. It's, they have a banana, but the kids walk right by it.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick.
Mhm.
So I found out recently. I said my daughter wanted to eat better and stuff. Our school doesn't have a salad bar anymore. When I was in school at Montrose, there was 4 lines. You had the a la carte line, you had the combo line, and there was a salad bar line, and there was like a cold line where it was just like Hot Pockets and it was like things you could microwave. But they don't have a salad bar anymore. So like it's great that the school has free food, but it's not great that it's crap. I almost swore that. So like, and I'm not opposed. I'm happy to send my daughter to school. If she wants a salad every day, I will give her all the greens she can handle. She wants tomatoes, she can have tomatoes. I don't care. I'm not against that. I want her to eat better. I want her to feel good about herself. And I want her to eat better. I want her to grow up to be healthier and have better habits than I do. So I didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
But when food pricing wise, you can get a lot of Hot Pockets for cost of a salad. So those schools that get funded maybe 70% of what they would have spent and have to make it free, by the way. So what happens is the schools have to struggle to make that money work. They go with cheaper and cheaper ingredients. Where in this scenario, that salad bar is abundant, right? That salad bar is flush, it is full, it is everything. And then over there is the cost items. So there is some situations that I think better choices could be made, if not forced, but made. You may choose because it has zero cost. Now you change it to cheap and it goes away. It has to be a free thing. I don't think if it's the same price as the burger, you're getting the burger. It has to be significant difference because you got to fight that mental part, that taste of grease, the taste of salt, all those things that these companies have a lab to make sure that it hits the right buttons in our brain for an addiction. You got to beat it. And sometimes you can beat it with cost. Other sides to this, if kids had unlimited fruits and vegetables where they could grab a banana whenever they want, they could grab an apple whenever they want, and that became the culture, our learning environments would be immensely better. Kids would be awake, alert, have the nutrients in their body to have the energy throughout the whole day. That's part of the reasons why the schools tend to give breakfast of some kind, is just to get them jump started and at least they're somewhat active. But if you did it with healthy, nutritious food, they would learn better. They would learn quicker. We'd probably see less acting out or some of those issues with kids and in how they perform in school, paying attention, those kinds of things would start to improve. Kids' grades would start to improve. How they function in school would start to improve.
So I don't want to jump down the rabbit hole of kids' performance in schools. I'm just going to tiptoe around the entrance because I do believe the entire schooling system is still wrong when it comes to young children. Kids are kids. They're any species of any mammal that's young is rambunctious and crazy and hyper. They're meant to be like that. Acting out is just part of growing up. We need to be able to involve kids more physically into the learning process, more activities that are hands-on, more new ways to experience sensations and smells, activities, form muscle memories, really give them a mental and physical workout throughout their day. And you want to talk about ways to make kids healthier physically and mentally, we need to kind of really look at changing the way our school system is set up. So we're not programming factory workers like it was originally designed. We're actually trying to really bring better minds for the future. There's a lot of things we could do to change that. Like if we should do a whole show on that action.
That's why with Stemnetics, we do a lot of hands-on learning, a lot of get up and move around. You're right. There should be a lot more activity. There should be a lot more moving, understanding what you are, why you are there. It shouldn't just be standard educational, but also the physical fitness of it all, knowing why that those two things go hand in hand. And maybe we should. That should be another, like reinventing schools. It could be another thought experiment.
We should call it Ask Why. Why do certain things work and certain things don't? And then when you get to that, like root cause analysis, everything. One episode. We don't have 35 hours, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, and you had said something about we're teaching factory workers, and I'm going to say something here real quick to everybody who's a fan of politics. And unfortunately, I think that's a great deal of people who have their jerseys and their teams, and they are a fan of politics. And if you're a politician listening to this doesn't qualify for leaders, just politicians. A lot of the things people fight over is to quote unquote make more people, because more people in the lower economic sector is more labor. That whole we're breeding people to put them through school so they can be working at the factory is what you just said, right?
That's not what I said at all.
No, what you were saying is that's what schools build is the factory worker.
That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the current education system was designed to quickly educate mass people so they can add to the workforce. What I'm saying is our education system is outdated. We need to look at creating new ways to really build a sense of desire in young ones, young people, young minds to grow and learn new things so they can find fulfillment in their life. It's actually where I was going with that.
Okay. So I misunderstood that, but I'm going to continue the thought here real quick, which is with the right nutrient, having good food, people having an abundance of food and not struggling every day to get just enough food to survive, you will also see spikes in population. Now, I say that because recently a lot of studies have looked at population, and for the longest time, everybody said, they're just trying to kill us off because there's too many people on the planet. And by the way, we're not even close to a capacity hold on the planet. It's not even just physical space, but capabilities. For anybody saying that, you're just doom and glooming it. Please stop. We have plenty of resources when managed correctly to manage populations. Anyways, with that, there are so many countries that are actually in a negative population growth right now. One of them that's in a lot of trouble is Russia, that they are only having 1.3 kids per family and they're at war. They are in very deep trouble as a population stance. But if we had peace, but also had good nutrition that was abundant, you would see those population booms with healthy individuals. That is important to help the world function the way it needs to. So, it's funny. You always see people saying, we want every child here, but we don't want to feed them. That's really counterproductive. In this manner, healthy, nutritious food would do an amazing thing, especially with the stress level reduction and everything else, to be able to have healthier babies, to be able to have better mortality.
The stress level reduction will do more good than almost anything else you can do in someone's life. If you can alleviate the stress in someone's life, even a financial burden based on the easier allocation of food. You want to talk about reproduction? I'm not talking about, just for lack of a better word, people that are stressed less are happy more. If they're happy more, then they're flirty more. If they're flirty more, they're enjoying their life more. Do you get what I'm saying?
I hear you.
I personally, as a man, sometimes get so stressed out about money, I don't think about anything else. And it's hard to see the positive sides. If you're a young man, a young woman, if you guys are, in a relationship, and if you're struggling to make ends meet, really struggling, robbing Peter to pay Paul, you don't know if you're able to pay the mortgage, you don't know if you can pay the rent, the heat on. Are you really going to even consider starting a family?
Right.
Alleviating the stress is going to do a lot. This is such so much of a deeper topic than we're going to give it time for because
I know
everything's a rabbit hole.
Which is why I cut that second part completely out. That'll be its own thought experiment because I knew this one was going to do that. Now we talk about nutrients and stress reduction, and there's a lot of different things we can do, but we never have time to do it. If you're not struggling to eat, you might be able to go exercise. I'm purposely planning little mini trips throughout the rest of the year for hiking, because I forgot how much I enjoyed it while I was in Hawaii to get out and just move around and climb things and just be in my own little space. So,
are there many trips in warmer climates? Because it's fixing to get really cold, Michael.
Well, no, and occasionally it's going to be in cold because that's a different experience too. But that kind of stuff helped me quite a bit. Now, I've done some other things. See, it's almost like because we can't get good food on a regular basis, we supplement it. I have been lucky. I've bought vitamins. I don't take them. I simply don't. I forget every morning. The only thing that's bailing me out now is Magic Mind.
That's so basic. It does the Lord's work. It really is awesome.
With for the stuff that's in there for stress reduction, it gives me energy throughout the day, and I'm actually getting these vitamins. Right now in my house, everybody's sick. Jamie is down for the count right now. I'm fine.
Poor girl. Well, her allergies are her kryptonite anyways, man. The world's always out to smack that girl's nose.
Well, she's got something else going on. I don't know if it's, some kind of cold or flu or something, but I don't have it. And I'm going to knock on the wood. Not that I'm superstitious, but that's what I've had to do is supplement. I use Magic Mind to give me some of those vitamins and give me some of the support that I'm not getting from my food. And I think people do that all the time. It created, this fast industry where you can just take it and go, because I'll tell you, I don't sit there. I have the vitamins. I don't take them out of the cupboard and put them in my mouth, but I immediately get up, make my coffee, walk over, grab my Magic Mind as part of the routine. I drink it, I grab my coffee and go in to get dressed. That's my morning.
So I have a liquid vitamin and mineral supplement that I ordered from Amazon. It was the highest rated one they have, and I was taking the prescribed amount every day. I'd have a glass of water, I'd take my medication from the doctor, and there's a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of that. And then one day I wasn't paying attention. I gave the bottle a little too hard of a squeeze, and it was a lot more. It was so much. No, it was disgusting. It was so much that you could taste it in the water, and it cleaned my system out. Like my body did a full flush because, as you know, if you take too many vitamins and minerals, you need to pee them out of poop. Well, my body pulled the hatch. And I haven't touched it since. Not that anyone needed to know that, but I felt like you did. I felt like you.
Well, you're telling a lot of people, just so you.
I hope they hear it, they laugh, and they tell me I'm an idiot. It'd be great.
So before I switch over to some other stuff, I'm just going to, something that happened in my email that I'm going to, since I'm talking about Magic Mind anyways, right now down in the description, if you go to that link, if you've been waiting to pick this up or try it, I urge you to do it now, because I guess we're going to call it a Black Friday deal. It's 50% off, half. I don't think there's going to be a discount that exceeds half of the cost. So the link in the bio takes you straight to it. It's a coupon directly for listeners of Realistic Sustainability. And that will allow you to get in there. You do a subscription, but you can turn it off right on the site as quickly and as easy without questions. It is pretty seamless and easy to do. It's not like one of those things where you got to fight someone, which I have a cable company that I recently had this experience with. This is quick, easy. You have your own little dashboard. You can increase, decrease, or take a week off. Or take a month off. There's so much you can do. It's so darn easy. So if you've been waiting for it, give it a try. That down in the bio, it's the comments, or what do you call that? You're the influencer.
Do you want the description? You want
the description? Yes.
Underneath by the title, it explains what the show is about.
Yeah, that section. Try the links there. It'll take you straight over with the invite. Try it for half off. If you like it, if you dislike it, either way, tell me. Because I just found out recently people are actually trying it out, which is pretty darn cool. I just haven't got any feedback. So if you're one of those people, message me. I want to hear all about it.
That's right, influencer.
Yes, really. I didn't even know what the description section's called.
That's what your editor is for. Someone that manages your social media life. You're there to influence, not to do the tech stuff.
Maybe I should get an influencer and I'll just handle the tech stuff. Anyways, let's continue on. So some of the other stuff we were looking at was, one of the most obvious problems is overconsumption and waste. Now, I don't necessarily believe there's a such thing as overconsumption of fruits and vegetables. And I think we tested that with Addison when she was little, when she would go through like a bag of apples a day. Because I kept saying, man, if someone can get diabetes from apples, it's going to be my daughter. Because she would eat so many apples in one day. Because remember, I used to have a rule at dinner time. I would always cook, a vegetable, a starch, and a meat. It was kind of that's just how it worked. And if you didn't like something on your plate, you could sub it for an apple. So if, you had French fries there or something you didn't want, you could sub that out and have an apple. Well, Addison would just have 3 apples. She didn't want any of the dinners. She just ate apples all the time.
Hey, they're good for you and they're delicious. Can you blame her?
Well, and so I'm not sure if overconsumption of apples or fruits or vegetables is really going to be a big problem with the individual. I think it's probably more an industrial issue than it is a person issue. But waste certainly would be. Waste would be, it's bad enough now when you're paying a premium for fruits and vegetables and you just put them in your fridge and watch them slowly die. I think it would be far worse. There would definitely have to be mass composting programs and things of that nature, because I do think that when you aren't investing, in some ways doesn't have a value and you're going to waste a ton of it, or a lot of people would.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
That is definitely one of the issues. And to combat it, putting together these large scale composting, to be able to get that nutrient back, to be able to grow the next set of vegetables would be very important. And so I went through so many sites looking for pros and cons. One of the ones I knew that was going to be a problem we hit on earlier is the economic side, that there's going to be some kind of blowback. You got corporations making millions and millions and millions on this. How do you do it? Does the government pay them for it? Do they lose that business and it now becomes a government project? how does that work? So there's an economic effect that would take place that would be challenging and hard to overcome. It would stress the economic system. And if we didn't change how we grow the food, because we waste so much of it from point A to point B, it would stress the ecosystem. If we had to continue to use chemical nutrient over vertical gardening and liquid nutrient, it would be kind of a mess.
I think that artificially doing anything like that has long-term negative effects. You almost, what are we? I'm 38 now, and I would say that for most of my life, the way that our food ecosystem, if you will, has been backwards to what our bodies actually need. Look at the food pyramid and everything we were taught growing up, and then all the preservatives they use in food. I think that there are better ways to grow things, and they definitely have to change some industrial practices to really make this beneficial in the long run.
Yeah, I think you'd have to. It would, plus, we would want better fruits and vegetables. So
Yes.
industry tends to suck the flavor and nutrient out of something to get it from point A to point B. We would want that to be more abundant in regions that it's their period of time to grow it. You would want it to have flavor and not just hurried to us.
Well, that's what I mean. Well, that's what I'm talking about when I say change the practices, because they're not grown all the way to where they get to develop that flavor. They're picked before they're ripe. So usually with most of the fruits and vegetables you buy at a commercial level, they're picked, but just as they get the proper shape and texture that you want them to have. But then they effectively, that's the best way I can explain this. Tomatoes are picked when they're rock hard and they're green, but they're the right size. Then they slowly die as they travel across the country. And when you finally get it, you get this beautiful red tomato. And you bite into it and it tastes like water because it was never able to really develop the flavor it needs. And so it's like it needs to be changed. We have to find a way to make this practice. It's gonna be slower. It's not gonna be as as readily available and to getting it until we really change everything.
So does that push people away if that becomes the thing? Like suddenly we think fruits and vegetables just taste like water and we don't go to them more and we work our way back to that cheeseburger?
Well, look at it this way. Fruits and vegetables do taste like water. Most people that I know, they're younger, have never really had garden fresh vegetables. They don't know what a cucumber or tomato is supposed to taste like. All they understand the flavor of is what they get at Kroger or what they taste at a restaurant when they order on their cheeseburger or on their salad. So it's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be a total culture shock to people's palates to actually really taste nature. Like the apples that you buy at the grocery store are great. I'm sure they're good. Apples are a little different. You can't rush an apple. But the flavor of an apple that was picked and wax coated, it's a protected coating they use, edible, to stop them from going bad is a whole different story than an apple that comes off the tree out of them. Go to the local orchard and get an Ida Red, get a Northern Spy, get something really tart, really sweet. Learn the differences on what you like. And then, there's 5,000 varieties of apples you can grow in Michigan. I've probably tasted 12.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that part of this culture shock would be people actually learning what they like, learning that things do have flavor. There's a nuance. There's reasons why different varieties of the same kind of thing are grown. Like black Roma tomato was better in a certain dish than a cherry or a grape tomato or than a celebrity or a beefsteak. Like there are reasons why things are developed over time for different purposes. Grapes, another one. Have you ever had like grapes off the vine?
I grew up with grapes off the vine over there in Mount Morris. They were beautiful. They were purple. And I would eat the sour ones before it even got cold and frosted on them. I would eat them even before you're supposed to. But once you get a frost, they were amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So what you had were Concord grapes. Concord grapes are not a grape most people ever tasted. They get the stuff in the grocery store. Concord grapes with the seeds in them, like real grapes that my mom used to make jelly with, like that's real. My kids have never tasted those. They don't know what those taste like. If you hand them those, they're like, why are there seeds in my grapes? And most kids don't know the seeds come in grapes. It's like most kids don't know the seeds used to come in bananas. Like it's something that we have just bred out of our civilization by it's ignorance. We promote it through simplicity and ease and laziness and the inability to even want to try to wait for seasonal food. So we want mediocre crap all the time. I'm telling you, Mike, I love the idea of having free fruits and vegetables. Everything's got to be redone. We need new practices, new industry, new farming. I mean, I'm not trying to be like a naysayer about it, but if we're going to do this, let's look at the food. Let's make it delicious.
Oh, yeah. And let's make it better than French fries. So I'm going to use this as an example. And I know I keep going back to my Hawaii because that's where my brain always is. Coconut, avocado, pineapple.
Yummy.
Passion fruit. I mean, we had some mangoes. I don't really like mangoes that much, but I ate significant amount of those. while we were there because they're delicious. And yes, part of our trip is going out to eat. But what I did is we filled the place we stayed with fruit and dried fruit. So that at the end of the night, when we came home and you got all snacky, that fruit growing from that place tasted like candy. It was really, really good. So having that kind of flavor in abundance could over time shift the cultural mindset of what to eat. Addictive foods that are genetically created to be addictive to regional, and each region would have more of something during its period of time, of course. But these really good foods that you kind of crave when you're getting. So there is some level that you can crave that kind of stuff too, where it's just better for you. But I think it will take some time.
Oh, of course it'll take time. So I don't know if you've ever noticed it. Every time I do like a extreme diet, my most favorite one is what I used to do as a no carb is now referred to as a carnivore diet. After a certain period of time, usually for me it's about a week, where your body is kind of expunged or purged all of the food in your system that had like preservatives and stuff, and you stopped eating like processed sugars and breads and starches, you start to develop a deeper taste for like grapes or an apple, and you start to develop a more sensitive palate for those sugars and those sweetnesses. Things that were kind of tart are now very sweet. And I'm not saying everything. Some things are still sour. A lemon is still going to be sour. But things like grapes, I'm not a big fan of green grapes. I never have been my whole life. I like the sweeter ones in terms of like store-bought grapes, right? Well, when I'm on that no-carb diet for more than a week, if I decide to do that diet, if I don't cheat at all, about day 6 or day 7, if you hand me some green grapes, I almost can't take the amount of sugar. And that's for the most part natural sugar. It's it's a little modified. It's not like, unchanged, but it's insane. So you're right. Over time, there will be adjustments. Your body's going to make changes. Your palate's going to develop. You're going to find out that you like certain things. Your cravings will change. And I love it. I'm here for it.
I think 3 to 5 years, we would see a new norm where,
yeah, for sure,
where you would see large helpings of fruits and vegetables, small starches, even smaller meats, where the meat industry becomes secondary. It becomes those 3-4 ounces, but you fill up more on the fruits and vegetables and things of that nature. And now for the environmental side of that, anything we lose by growing more fruits and vegetables, even in a better manner, well overshadows a great reduction of meats, because we're stressing that industry right now. Meat industry at all levels is wildly stressed.
Yeah, of course. But it's kind of designed to be stressed. So a lot of people aren't going to like what I'm about to say if they even understand it. It's not to sound arrogant. Don't misunderstand what I mean. The way our agriculture industry for meat and fruits and vegetables is designed is to create a supply and demand, meaning that the meat industry is stressed at any time of the year given to certain diseases, and it could be bird flu, it could be mad cow disease, E. coli, whatever is breaking out that's killing our livestock. It's going to stress the industry, which is going to drive prices up. But what you don't know is that they don't really allow excess to be produced in any aspect of this industry. Farmers are contracted to produce a certain amount. Anything over that is wasted, thrown away, disposed of, destroyed.
I think it's been a long time since that's had to happen in a meat industry. It has happened. Milk, maybe not in our lifetime, but there has been that kind of stuff. But meat, we're always kind of behind. Pork is there. Chicken is starting to get behind.
It doesn't overproduce in meat because you can directly control the breed. You can't control the weather, completely control the weather. So if you give good weather, you have a great crop. So fruits and vegetables are wasted far more often. I just bought a thing of what they call buckwheat honey, where this honey producer, these guys a beekeeper. I'm sure you'd be a big fan. Throughout however many weeks of the year it is when the wheat is being grown, they put these hives out there, and the honey produced in these hives is strictly from wheat. Then they pull the beehives out after a certain period of weeks, and he said that they flood excess wheat and destroy the crop. Whatever they don't need, they destroy. That bothers me. Like, we want to talk about people going hungry and food waste. It bothers me in a huge, I don't want to get emotional. Drives me crazy. And you're right. It doesn't happen with meat because they control the breeding. But that's also because there are no more wild meat sources. The FDA controls that. They don't exist. You don't have wild cows in the U.S. anymore. Not on a harvested sense. Not like you don't have wild chickens. Maybe you had them in Hawaii, but we don't have people going around picking eggs from wild chickens. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying with this? It's all control. So it's stress, but it's stressed by design.
Well, the system is stressed. They have to grow so much meat. They have to produce such a huge amount that we're seeing decline in the oceans. You know, as you know, with fish, it's becoming harder and harder. They're now shifting from one kind to another to help meet the need for that, to fill that commercial side. Cows and beef is just insane what they do to the land and how much it can affect the environment. And now it's shifting to chickens and pork and any kind of meat that is farmed is a stressed environment. So anything that you can do to reduce that is absolutely needed on a sustainability side long term.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is one of those things that helps move towards the solution of that. Fruits and vegetables are healthy, they're high nutrient, and if they're abundant, at least everybody eats. And everybody eats good things, not like handing out a candy bar to everybody. It has the sugars like a candy bar, but your body knows what to do with it. And it could move us a little more away from some of these bad habits that we have built over the last 100 years that really could help all human race, help in so many different ways. So not to pretend like this thought experiment is something that you could snap your fingers and get done. But I will tell you, in your neighborhood all summer long, it's not against the law to drop seeds.
Correct. It is not. You want to talk about that, or what I called the other day? Oh, I had a joke for this, Michael. God bless it.
So I spent a good chunk of the summer this year. Yes, we planted. Yes, Durand had its edible landscape project. Yes, it was successful and people got food from it. Although the climate was a little weird and tomatoes never really turned red, we did get other things. But there were parts around the city and places that I know very few people go that I would take a little walk and kind of get rid of some extra seed. And as long as one grows fruits and drops, good luck ever getting rid of it from that point going forward. So the more fruits and vegetables that can be found all across the world, the harder it is to get rid of them. And so that's, just keep that in mind. Not that I'm saying do this or do that. I'm just saying if you got a few extra, it's not against the law to drop them. And maybe over time we can get something like this going, because I think this would be an amazing way for humanity to improve. Anyways, that's all we had for you this week. I just want to remind everybody, if you don't already follow the show, please do. And if you like this episode, share it with a friend or on social media. Now, earlier we talked about Magic Mind. Again, they've got the offer. The link is in the description here. 50% off. That's good until December 6th. Click that link. It'll show the invite. Do your thing. And if you try it, let me know how it works for you. I'm still using it to this day. Love it. Took it with me to Hawaii. I wanted to make sure I had the energy I needed. Anyways, again, thank you all for listening. The goal here is that we get a little better each time. Thought experiments, talking together, coming up with new ideas. Just little bit, big bit. Thank you again so much. I'm Mike.
And I'm Nick.
And we'll see you soon.